nd.com. That will be posted in the chat, and we will also send a follow-up email with this information. This session is being recorded and streamed on Facebook. Please use the chat box on the Zoom to share your name and where you're from, and feel free to post questions or comments in there. We will do our best to respond to the comments and questions that come up. We will also take speakers after each speaking list is complete. You can indicate you'd like to speak in the chat or use a raise hand function found under the participants to indicate you'd like to share. We will aim to wrap up after about an hour. And again, please send any feedback to listeningtour@vig4nd.com if you're not able to share live tonight. With that, I'd like to begin with our first speaker. And our first speaker is Mr. Brandt Dick. And with each speaker, can you just give a quick introduction of your position, and then we'll know what you're going to speak about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I am presently the superintendent of Underwood Public School District, and I am running for the state superintendent of Department of Public Instruction. And so I speak from what we're doing right now at Underwood School and the challenges that we have in front of us. It is a very challenging time to think about how do we balance the needs of the education of our students, make sure they are provided the best education possible with the safety of all students, staff, and then as Dr. Lenz mentioned, that we're an important part of the community when we do think about how do we do that in a safe way. It has been frustrating. I will agree with Dr. Lenz. It's been very frustrating until just very recently. In fact, 10 minutes ago, I got an email with some more guidance, and then that's a little bit late. Just struggling with some leadership that we have right now, and I think it's time for a change in the Department of Public Instruction. So I'll just throw that in there quickly. But, I have an opportunity. You got to do that. But it is a challenge. When you think about the safety, how do we handle that? How do we make sure that we account for something that you can't see, something that we still are finding out more about every day? How do we balance that with, every community is a little bit different. I just got some results back from our community, and we have like 92% of our community right now says they want to send their kids back. And so how do we do that in a safe way and make sure that we have processes in place that we can follow, that if or when there is a positive case that we can track that and be able to just focus on that small group and keep them safe and so forth. So I'm looking forward to listening to the other speakers, listening to any other questions. Again, we're just right in the midst of it, trying to figure that out. Also, as I just recently resigned from the AD position so I could campaign this fall, but activities is another huge issue that we're dealing with, and how do you do that safely? I mean, that is an important part for a lot of students in North Dakota, but how can we do that safely, and how can we make sure that we keep our athletes safe in our communities as well? So again, thank you, and I look forward to listening and learning and just seeing what everyone else has to say.
Great. Okay, thank you, Brandt. Next up is Christy Wolf.
Hi, my name is Christy Wolf. I'm the executive director for the North Dakota Women's Network. We are a statewide nonprofit located in Bismarck. As we're moving forward and looking at this, there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of questions. We know that there are a lot of things to take into consideration. Families across North Dakota often have lack of access to affordable childcare. So what does that look like with school not in session or in session? We also know that we need to take safety into consideration. We need to take into consideration our special education students. I'm personally the mom of a child with autism, and we navigated special education in a virtual setting. There's so many things that we need to take into consideration, and not only our students, but our teachers and staff that have special health care needs and are at higher risk. One thing that we are very adamant about, and something that we support very much at the North Dakota Women's Network, and have actually launched an entire campaign, is paid family leave. Oh, we know that if we are sending people back, that there is a need for paid leave. If parents and teachers and families need to be quarantined, we need to make sure that we're taking care of our family. We are very supportive of the proposal that was rolled out by Senator Aaron Oban and Representative Carla Rose Hansen for the emergency paid family leave policy. And we've been encouraging people to contact the Emergency Commission and say that we need this. But honestly, beyond that, paid family leave is something that we feel we need statewide beyond this emergency, because even after COVID, people will still be having babies and they will still be getting cancer treatments, and so we need to really look at paid family leave as a statewide policy beyond this. So, but right now, with looking at going back to school and our kids and our teachers, we really feel that that is a necessity, with something that we know needs to happen.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you for all those efforts and really trying to get that across the table. So, all right. Next will be Tracy Wilkie. Tracy?
Bonjour.
Hi, Tracy.
My name is Tracy L. Wilkie. I'm the candidate for District 16 House, and a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. And I have a concern with children starting school, especially children that don't have access to everything that they need to survive, you know, with the food. And District 16 has a, the class difference is like pretty different over here. So I get to see, you know, both sides of it. And of course I lived it, you know, and going into the Head Start while I was back on the reservation for 6 months, and getting to volunteer there for a few sessions. It was our whole educational system needs some help, and you know, I worry about kids, like, you know, middle class, and what COVID-19 is doing to them trauma-wise, and how this is going to carry on. And of course, I'm a union member, and yeah, I mean, it's just it's been kind of a whirlwind, you know, meeting nurses. My mom's been sick, and but anyway, thank you very much for your time. And also, I'm running with 2 other women, Mina DeConnie for House and Carrie Brecker for Senate.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. And thank you for bringing that perspective from the Native Americans. Okay, next on our list is Destiny Wilson. Destiny?
Hi.
Hi, Destiny.
I
love your chemistry right behind you.
Yep. I'm in biology right now, so it's nice to look at.
Okay.
So I'm a parent here in Dickinson, North Dakota. I am also a working parent. I have a child that is in elementary school and then a child that is in high school as well. And I just have a few concerns. I'm sure a lot of parents are feeling the same way about the schools opening up. I can't talk for all the different school districts, but as far as I know, the school is going to be opening up. We could have options of doing online. They could go to school with certain stipulations, precautions, those types of things. But also at any moment that they could switch to online school or have to go back home, like go home, or just switch in any moment. And the concerns I have with those types of things is I feel like my children at this time, more than anything, need more stability. And I feel like being home and just doing the online is the most stable thing for them right now. Going to school and just not knowing, I mean, even adults at this time don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So,
right.
So the way I feel about it is I feel I'm going to keep my kids home this year. We're going to try the online thing. I've talked to the kids about it as well, and they kind of feel the same. They don't want to just be disrupted when they do decide they want to go to school, and then just one day, the next day, be like, no, you have to do it online, and transition back and forth. And it's just,
that makes sense.
They need a lot more stability than this. And I know adults are dealing with not having stability, and for me, my family is going to keep the kids home just because this is the most stable environment I feel at this time.
Okay. Thank you for that, Destiny.
Mhm.
Thank you for that, and for making and involving your kids in that decision
Yeah.
too. Okay. All right. So next up is Tim Hines.
Good evening.
Hi, Tim.
So I am a high school problems of democracy teacher at Standing Rock. I'm also a teacher that has a pre-existing condition. So there's a lot of different aspects, not only as an educator, but as someone that has a compromised health system. Just for, legal purposes, anything that I say is strictly my own opinion.
Okay.
And it does not reflect the Standing Rock School District. A couple of things for me, is my own health as an educator. It's not just going back and making sure that our students get a good education. I think every educator in the state wants that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, a lot of our teachers are certainly older than I am. I'm in my mid-30s, so just throwing that out there. And, we have to take those into consideration. We also have to consider those newer teachers that are coming in to education that have health issues as well, despite what some individuals throughout the state and the country say, regarding kids can't get this disease, contrary to that, they can. So opening up the school setting needs to be the number one focus. Luckily, there are some school districts that are going to start online. I personally believe that's the best route at this time. The other aspect to going online, while it's the best course for the current time, we also have to consider what that looks like for those students that have special needs. Some of them may not adapt to online learning. There are also federal guidelines that schools need to be following regarding that. If they need assistance or anything like that with their studies, how are we going to mitigate that? And also, there are other avenues in terms of like testing. How are we going to be able to do state tests for the public schools? Again, because I'm teaching at Standing Rock, our funds are not coming from the state, but from the Department of Interior and Bureau of Indian Affairs. So how does that work? Because we're falling under federal guidelines. So those are questions that I have. Overall safety, making sure, funding is there, and making sure that we're not only concerned about the student's success, but also the teacher's success within the classroom, instead of just checking a box saying, oh, well, we're providing this learning, because we also have to be assessed, not just for the state, but also federally as well. And also making sure that we have a plan in place for those students that are in the special education needs area as well, and making sure we're compliant with both state guidelines as well as federal guidelines.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for that extra complexity that someone like yourself has to deal with. Big show. Okay. So the next is Stephanie Niska. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong. Stephanie Niska Marufo. So you can correct
It's okay. Neither of them are easy, so it's okay.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Lentz. My name is Stephanie Nishik Marufo.
Okay.
I'm not actually orange. The lighting in my basement, I know, makes it appear that I am, but just so we're all clear, it's just the beautiful wood paneling. I'm going to read, thank you. I'm going to read from notes that I prepared because it helps me keep on track. So I'm just going to say that out loud. Today I'm speaking to you all as a parent of 2 school-age children in the Bismarck Public School System. The health and safety of our children and educators is a definite priority in these conversations. I, however, would like to speak to another priority of the education system, which is educating.
Okay.
To educate requires effective communication, and how we effectively communicate may vary from student to student, but research tells us that roughly 55% of communication is visual. One of my children was born with sensorineural hearing loss. This is an irreversible type of hearing loss. This is a congenital hearing loss. It's just the way that he was put together, and he's perfect. He wears hearing aids and communicates primarily auditory orally, which is listening and spoken language, but also utilizes speech reading, lip reading, and American Sign Language to fully communicate. Because of my son's hearing loss, effective communication, which includes access to the visual aspects of language, is always a priority to me. As I'm sure you can gather from what I've said so far, a concern for me with children returning to school is a possible mask requirement for teachers, students, or both.
Wow.
Requiring facial coverings, especially those most typically used, which are the cloth or surgical masks, will completely eliminate the visual aspects of verbal communication. My son and other deaf and hard of hearing children and teachers and staff and administrators, of which there are definitely more who are deaf and hard of hearing than we would think, are not the only ones whose ability to communicate effectively will be negatively impacted by mask requirement. I would think it is safe to include those children with ADD, ADHD, sensory difficulties, autism spectrum disorder, and our visual learners in the group of those who will be affected. As a solution, I would propose that transparent and clear barriers and masks be prioritized in the event that a mask requirement is issued. There are many available. I don't know if for the sake of time, I have some in my notes that I could mention specifically, but I won't. Instead, I will just, end by saying if transparent facial coverings are available, which they are, and a mask requirement is implemented, to me, it would seem an obvious choice that these items be utilized so that our children can receive the best possible education through full access to high quality communication. Thank you.
Wow, Stephanie, oh, that was very enlightening. And the way you told the story really was an extra punch. So
thank you.
Please send that in the email, and we'll put that in the comments, and that should be required, and the state should pay for it.
Thank you. I agree. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I would like to get some of those masks for me. so
they're wonderful. I've got about 4 or 5 different types. You guys just wait. We'll be on the news talking about them. Just give me about another week or two.
I just love that. So thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the next is Jenna Van Horn.
Hi. So I am Jenna Van Horn. I'm running for Senate for District 14.
Yeah, Jenna, we can't hear you very well. Is there a way you can get now? How's that? That's better.
Come back with a couple things. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm from Seal. I'm running for Senate in District 14, but I'm coming to Seal now as a mother of a almost 6-year-old who would be starting kindergarten.
Oh, Jenna, hold on. We can barely hear you. I don't know why. Wait. That sounds. Oh, that's much better.
Okay. Yay!
What did you do that made it work?
I don't know.
Okay, doesn't matter. Okay. Sorry, Jenna, go ahead. You are a mother of a 6-year-old.
Yes. She'll be 6 in November. She would be starting school, but I'm not sending her. There is so much misinformation that I don't feel that I can make a good choice from the information that we've been given. We've been told that some people are releasing false information. Just the other day, the North Dakota Health Department's numbers, a friend crunched the numbers because she's good at that, and they were off by a lot. And with that type of information coming, I don't feel safe sending my daughter to school.
Yeah.
I talked to a few people that live in my area, and I know they couldn't make it because they're working, so I wanted to make sure I brought their concerns. One of them is a mother of a kid who has been in the hospital multiple times with oxygen tubes. He's got asthma and on top of other breathing problems, but she works full time, and she's terrified to send him to school. But at the same time, she works in the lunchroom at the school, and she's in a mess. There's no other way to say it. If there's not school, what is she going to do with her kids? But then where is she going to work? And I think it's important that there's so many single mothers that they don't have a choice for schools not to open. They work, 1-2 jobs. They don't have time for homeschooling. They don't have time to stay on top of them of their kids for distance learning. And I'm scared for them. I really am. I want to give them answers, but I have no answers that be better. I done some research on I think Virginia is the one that's making it easier to have charter schools. So I don't know if that's an option, if we could, break down schools to smaller departments so that if one kid was infected, it wouldn't infect the whole school. In 14 days, one kid can infect the entire school. And then, like somebody mentioned before, what are we going to do then? Are we going to just shut down the whole school and do distance learning anyway? I wish we would have prepared better over the summer and had distance learning down pat. You know what I mean? That would have made me feel better and a lot of other people. I think that's about all.
Oh, that's a lot. And there's a lot of fear and anxiety, and we feel it, So thanks for articulating it so well for you and your community members. So, okay, next up is Christina Nystrom.
Hi, I'm Christina Nystrom. I am a 3rd grade teacher in West Fargo. I would also like to give the disclaimer that for legal purposes, opinions and thoughts are my own and not reflective of West Fargo Public Schools.
Okay.
In regards to reopening, it looks as if our area is considering a hybrid model. It is not personally my first choice. My first choice would be distance learning for the safety of everyone. With a hybrid model, there are a lot of unknowns and logistics that our district needs to think about, and a lot of things that are not answered yet as far as providing masks. I don't think that teachers should have to provide their own masks. As that parent stated, a mask that clearly has a barrier on our face as opposed to that clear shield, because clear shields are actually less effective than something that creates a barrier from the air around you, but still, allowing students to be able to see our mouths move, I think would be vital for teachers that go back. We have a lot of questions about teachers who are immunocompromised or live with someone who is immunocompromised. I think that those teachers also need to be included, because how are they going to isolate themselves from their kids or their spouses when they go home if their spouse or loved ones are at risk of catching COVID? And I myself am a high risk teacher, and I am very fearful of going back. We also need to be looking at, do we have enough money to fund for cleaning supplies, custodial staff? Are custodial staff trained in effective cleaning practices for a pandemic? We need to be looking at transitions. Are we still going to gym class, music, art? What is that going to look like? How are these teachers who teach these specials classes going to protect themselves when they are seeing multiple classes every single day? I have spoken to a lot of specialist teachers that are very fearful of the fact that they see so many kids. Even if we do reduce class sizes with the hybrid model, that's still a lot more kids that they're being exposed to. We need to be looking at busing and how that is going to impact our students and parents. We need to be looking at how teachers can even keep children from taking their masks off. Anybody who has been in an elementary school classroom knows that quickly things like that become a toy. And I firmly believe that as an elementary teacher, I am going to be spending more time policing my students and making them follow CDC guidelines before I am actually teaching them. And we talk about the socialization that students need. I don't think that proper socialization is going to be possible if we open up schools. They're not going to be able to play with their friends. They're not going to be able to go on the playground. We're not going to be able to have turn and talk discussions like we normally do. So I feel like, you know, we need a lot of answers that we don't have right now, and we are really running out of time. And with the daily infection rate on the Johns Hopkins website going up to 6.3% for North Dakota, this is not going away anytime soon. And we need a plan of action, because even one teacher or one student death is far too many.
Yeah. It's a heavy burden. It's a heavy burden that we're putting on our school administrators and school board members. And yeah, thank you for that, Christina. Thank you. Okay, next up is Pat Hart.
Hey guys, Patrick Hart here. I'm the endorsed candidate for running for state auditor, but in addition to that, I am a parent of two. First off, I guess I really do understand the need to make local decisions. I understand that both Bismarck, North Dakota, where I am, and Bisbee, North Dakota, have completely different amount of local cases. But with that being said, in my area in Bismarck, I don't really see an in-person classroom as a feasible option at this time. Wow. Like I said, I'm a father of two children, Connor and Kaylee, who are both enrolled in Prairie Rose Elementary School, South Bismarck. And this is a smaller than typical urban school. I guess class sizes are typically under 15, but I'm still worried about their safety and the safety of the teachers and staff at the school. Since North Dakota has reopened, we've seen an ever increase in COVID illness spreading across many of the age groups. And this is with many social distancing and mask requirements in a growing number of the retail stores. When I'm out in public, I'm very aware of what I'm touching, where the hand sanitizer is, and where my proximity is to others. And as much as I'm proud of my two kids, they're not always as aware as I am. Now, when we see school come into session every fall, we often see an increase in flu transmission rates as well. We're talking about a deadly virus, and this is even more troublesome. Now, last spring, as this was ramping up and we closed school, I saw a lot of innovation in teaching remotely. There was definitely a learning curve, and I feel a lot of the teachers really stepped up for that. Connor's teacher had Zoom office hours every day. She had hourly daily calls, and she was texting and calling every night at 8 or 9 o'clock when his homework wasn't submitted. Now, a lot of these remote learning issues have already been worked out, and I think doubling down on what we're already doing to limit exposure seems very sensible. We don't need to start this thing up only to shut it down again in a couple months. As much as we all want to get back to the old normal, we need to continue to be diligent in our social distancing, and as much as that hurts, it will save lives and some heartache today, and it'll pay off tomorrow. Lastly, and perhaps most important, and I think a lot of people have already touched on this, is the idea that school is ultimately a business, and every business has a requirement to keep its employees safe. I don't see packing kids into classrooms with their grubby little hands as a safe environment for teachers, aides, admin, and custodians. We need to protect our kids and families and our future by limiting exposure. We can get through this. Again, I don't feel packing schoolrooms will help trend this infection rate down. I do feel that remote learning will help slow transmission and return us to the old normal that we all are longing for. Now, let me tell you, remote learning isn't easy. It's tough to work through more homework at night and to play a greater role in the education of our kids, but we need to put in the hard work before we relax. It's just that simple.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Really
Thank you, Dr.
appreciate
Shelley.
that. Okay, next is Jenny Branca. Jenny? Jenny, are you there? Jenny?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't see your video though.
Do you need me
No, that's
to?
okay. No, you can just read it. So,
No, I really value like everybody I've heard tonight, and all your concerns. I'm a teacher going back, like I'm in Ohio, so my district chose to go back and, what my district did is they surveyed all the parents and the teachers. If the teachers were not comfortable, they still were offered a position to go online. And that's a completely different situation than us that chose to go back. And your last speaker spoke to like many of my concerns. I hate to go back, get this all set up, and then be shut down in 10 days, you know? At the same time, I think it would be beneficial for me as a teacher to, okay, let's make sure the students have everything they need if we do shut down in 10 days, you know? So like, I know our district has given every student a Chromebook, but not every student has Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is a big concern. So you're sending all your public education students home to do their learning, and the teachers are still teaching them, but they just need the resources to do so. So like, that's another issue and concern, is make sure all your students have the resources that they need, like if we do have to do it from home.
okay, thank you, Jenny. Thank you for that. Are your resources coming to your schools? I know you're in a different state. Has the governor said, okay, we're going to do what it takes to get that funding?
No. Actually, like we just got cut like $2 million in our budget. So.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
So
right.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be a different topic. So, thank you, Jenny.
Okay.
The next one, next speaker is Christina Peterson.
Hello, I'm Christina Wolf-Peterson. I am a third-generation educator, and I live in South Bismarck, and also running for State House in District 32. And I also have notes, and I also want to put the disclaimer, as well as everybody else, that these are opinions of my own. So I have a lot of mixed feelings. I have a child with autism, and in school is always best for him. I work with special education students, the same as them. But all the things you read, they're, online, you don't know what to believe anymore. Everything is, you'll hear one thing and then somebody will say something opposite. They have a different article. So it's really hard to know what the real truth is out there. Today, actually, I had to tell one of my friends who's a single mom, to make sure that she has her will and her last testimony in place. And that was really sad for me that I had to do that. But I felt that I had to do that because she is a single mom. So for me personally, I work in a larger school. And so because of a larger school, there's too many kids for the school. And that was a problem, even before COVID. And even if we restrict the amounts of students that are in there, we're still having the same staff. So there's a lot of rooms that I work in and that are very, very small. And to have 6 adults in there, and then you add students, which are pretty much considered adults, that's a tough thing. So recommendation is to get some portables, if that's the recommendation. And so this is the case in a lot of schools. I know my son's school, his school is over, and so they're thinking about doing, from what I've gathered, a couple days in school and a couple of days online. But when you do the online and the in school, that also means that I need to be at home with him to make sure he gets his stuff done. We did the online schooling, and with him, it literally took us all week to get his assignments done, even with special accommodations in place. And so one thing that I've noticed that maybe other people, I think one thing that we could change with the distance learning is you could really have, you know, if we did distance learning, you have the class, I don't know, maybe the teachers would disagree with me, but you could have where you're having the class at the same time, you're having the 8:30 to whatever time, and you can participate. You could do group things. You could have a little minier sessions with, because I've done these Zoom things where they can have a minier session so they can have a group discussion. So there's ways that we can, you know, do better with our online learning, and we just kind of were thrown into it and nobody knew what they were doing. So that's just something that I've seen from my son. He did a little bit of summer school, and then also me from working with him, and some of the teachers did a really excellent job of it, but I thought if it was live, it would be even more effective. And okay. And again, like I said, the parents that are working, you know, where are, you know, are they going to be taking out their health insurance? You know, how are they going to manage this? And even, you know, if I'm able to do that, I could, you know, work a couple days they're working out, but that's going to affect the school, and that's also going to affect, you know, how much you're getting. Are you going to get health insurance? So those are all things that we need to consider, and it would be nice to have some sort of, if the school isn't going to pay, to have some sort of money set aside for all of the parents that aren't able to work because their child has some sort of disability that they aren't able, or not disability, but, you know, some of the kids, they have immune compromised, and some of them are kids with disabilities that aren't able to go to school because of those reasons. And so we got to consider all the different options, and that's what I have today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Christina. Okay, our next speaker is Bernadette Dauwenhour. Bernadette? I think I said your name right, Dauwenhour.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you. There you are, Bernadette. Hey.
I'm driving, so you have to excuse me for that.
Okay, please be safe.
I think I'm going to pull over here.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
So I called in and asked to be a speaker. I am a former high school principal, and I do have kids, grandchildren in the Bismarck schools. And they sent the survey out, and I am not in agreement with the schools reopening, only because of the CDC requirements, and as we all know, how our kids are not able to social distance. You'll find that from kindergarten all the way up to high school, and causing, we don't know who our kids have been in contact throughout the day, or kids that go home, and just 2 kids coming in and testing positive. What are they going to do? Shut down the school? My suggestion for schools for distance learning would do Zoom, regular class schedule. Teachers are on there teaching their lessons through Zoom. Teachers are accountable for teaching, and students are accountable for attendance. You know, we struggled with the social distancing. We did good in some areas, and we struggled in some areas, only because instruction wasn't given.
Instruction wasn't given? Okay, yeah.
Yes, and it was just, you know, it wasn't as, I don't know, it was short. Some teachers did videos and went step by step, and other ones just posted little notes on their assignments, and so we had to figure out things and call, and so, you know, I think the Zoom would work, or either that each teacher upload their videos again and post them online and kids have the opportunity, but be more in depth and detailed on their lessons, because I am not sending my grandchildren back to school.
All right.
Regardless of the school's opening. I am too scared. I have elderly parents with underlying health issues.
Right.
My grandson has asthma. I'm a high risk because I'm a smoker. So I don't want my grandchildren to contract the virus. And they say that there's studies out there that kids are not as, their symptoms aren't as severe as adults. We don't know that for sure. This is new.
Yeah.
And so I hope the schools come up with something better. I have a feeling Bismarck is just going to reopen because a lot of parents want the school to reopen with the results that they're sending out. So I'm a little afraid of that.
Yeah.
And I hope they listen to our concerns that parents and guardians and have concerns over sending our kids back to school. It's a small percentage of us, but I hope they just don't disregard us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Nope. I think you're speaking for a lot of people, Bernadette, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you have smaller communities out in the rural area that if the numbers start going up, they don't have the resources.
No.
The hospitals and everything, so they have to travel. And, I'm afraid of kids that are out in the rural areas, country areas, and have the smaller schools.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned over that. So I hope you advocate for us.
We will. Yep. This will all be written into a report, and it'll be sent to the governor's office and also to all the legislatures. So
thank you very much.
Yep. So thank you. Thank you for speaking up and really making those hard decisions that's best for you and your family. So
yes.
They're not. None of the decisions are easy. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So we had a few people sign up to speak, but we don't see on the call. But if Barbara Jacobs is here, now's your chance. I'll give you just a few seconds. Barbara Jacobs. Okay. Angel Powell. Angel Powell. Warren Larson. And Ryan Weber. Okay, you guys, you can send in your comments and we will include those in the report. And of course, everybody will get this report as well. Okay, so Brandt Dick, the super, wants to add a few to his comments. Brandt, do you have a moment to add a few comments?
Yes, thank you very much. And I enjoy all the comments. I appreciate each comment. And I think everyone here can get a sense of the challenges we have as administrators in the state of North Dakota. I mean, even on this listening session, we have all the full gamut. Those that there's good reason to go back to school for the education of their students, and those that don't feel comfortable sending their kids to school. And so just realize it's going to be a tough year for administrators. We're gonna get it from both sides, and we know that. Yep. That's unfortunately that's just part of our position, and we understand that. And so I want to thank all the comments. But one of the comments I wanted to add is, the state did get some money for the COVID-19, and Dr. Lenz has done a very good job of asking the governor, how are we going to spend that money? And, that's one thing I have been very disappointed in. It hasn't been very transparent to the people of North Dakota. How are we going to spend that money? And as schools, even my school, I'm a rural school, and I think we can do this and we can do it right, but it's going to add extra costs. I know right now it looks like we may be taking the temperatures, everyone. That's going to take a cost. Looking at how do we social distance? Do we have to find extra staff for cleaning? Extra supplies, that's going to take money. And so I'm disappointed that we don't have a very good picture of how the money, even how much money we're getting. I mean, I don't know that, and I try to keep track of that pretty well for schools.
Yeah, me too. Brandt's a math teacher.
So, you know, there's definitely, I think, opportunities there. And then it sounds like the new bill that's passed may have some money for schools. And so again, without the transparency of the last money, are we going to have the transparency of any new money that comes? So I think that's something, you know, this group and Dr. Lenz, and you write your report that you can give to legislators, is ask those questions. Right. Where has the money been spent, and has it really been spent in the way that it was meant to be spent in our state? So I just wanted to add that to this discussion.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, Brandt. And it's a big issue. Like, schools are already stretched thin, and now we need more teachers, more equipment. So thank you. You know, before I call on my next person, I do want to say that, you know, we are live streaming this on Facebook, and we are seeing some great feedback and comments. And we wanted to acknowledge that. We are going to accept all those. Those will be in our report as well. And thank you for watching and participating. So our next person is Claire Andrus. Claire, are you there? I saw you before. Somewhere.
There I am. There you are. I am a retired teacher. I spent most of my career in all my career in small schools in the western part of the state, southwestern North Dakota, where my last 25 years were spent at Regent and Mott Regent. Low COVID area now. I am in West Fargo currently, living in West Fargo currently. My concern is if a school or a classroom or something happens and they decide not to shut down the whole school, but the teacher gets sent home to isolate, or it comes down with it, or a classroom does, where are the substitute teachers coming from? When my last few years of teaching, we had in high school, the high school I taught in, we had 2 people that could sub in the whole community. So where are all these, we are short subs and on a good day. There's not enough subs to go around.
Right.
My question is, what happens? And I don't know who's going to answer this, except when it happens, hello, can you come in? What do we do? And that's my concern. My concern is small schools, especially if something happens and they don't have to shut the whole school down and just a building or a classroom. Where's the teacher? Where are the subs coming from?
Yeah.
And that goes for who's going to sub for the lunch lady, who's going to sub for the janitor, who's going to sub. They're just, you know, that's my question, my concern.
Yeah. No, very, very good points about what if, you know, just the subs and what if one of the professionals gets pulled out, but the school's still open.
Right.
Hard enough as it under normal conditions. Thank you for that, Claire. And thank you for dedicating your life to being a teacher. Okay, our next is Melissa Anderson.
Hello, Dr. Shelley. Good evening, everyone. I will not have a video because I was just mowing, so I'm excessively dirty. So my apologies for no video. But I just wanted to comment, as someone who's been covering COVID since it started and has been home since school closed with my children, I can commiserate with every parent who wants their child back in school. I want my children back to normal as well. However, in these discussions, in these talks, there are certain things that I've been experiencing as a stay-at-home mom now, working jobs full-time and doing this, that even though I want them back, even though I want my children to go back to the daycare, back to school, and I've been doing these surveys, the fact that nobody knows what to do bothers me. It bothers me immensely as a parent, as you know, someone who's always seeking the answer because of what I do for a living with journalism. And then as a candidate, when I saw the guidelines come out, I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely livid. I was livid. I was like, this is what we've been waiting for months.
Yeah.
And this is the best you could come up with.
Yeah.
So forgive me for being frank, but I found it ironic that someone who wants to treat North Dakota as a business is suddenly leaving his employees to decide everything that they should be doing for their jobs.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, I hear you.
So I just wanted to go back to everyone who said about the paid parent leave. That's a huge thing. When you look at how long, if there is a COVID case, we're looking at months long quarantining, isolation in some cases.
Yeah.
This is not, you know, oh, I have a cough, you'll be home for a week. No, this is, you're going to be home for 10 days, 14 days. If somebody in your household gets sick, guess what? That clock just reset. You're
Yep.
back home for another 14 days. I mean, this could shut down rural communities if they don't follow the guidelines, if they don't follow the compliance, which they have to. There is state law saying you have to be compliant with these things. And I don't think a lot of people know that.
Right.
Which it's frustrating for me because, you know, I'm trying to inform people, and like everyone says, it changes. Yes, it changes, but you know what? There's still those very basic tenements of social distancing, wear the mask. And right now, we are going to turn our back on all of that information that is proven to be true and effective because we're tired of having our children home and we want normalcy.
Yeah.
So we're going to endanger lives. That makes a lot of sense to me. Not.
Right. No.
So yeah, that's kind of all I had to say. I'm just kind of ranting right now, but like I said, the things that are being proposed in terms of having the paid family leave, that's important. Those are things that need to be there for this situation.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things right now with the distance learning. Yeah, it was hard. I am not a teacher. I did not go into teaching for a reason, but I would still rather have my child home doing controlled play dates with people that we know, doing those social distancing things, you know, that we know work in small groups to control this, rather than just sending her to school and hoping for the best, which is essentially what we're doing right now.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Melissa. I you know, it's the rants are I hear it every day, and fear and anxiety, and even if they could just put one thing like the paid family leave as a security measure, like, okay, at least I can keep my health insurance and feed my family and do whatever is the law is requiring. I mean, that would just raise, at least lower the temperature a little bit. So anyway, that's my own opinion, but like I hear that a lot. So, okay, thank you, Melissa. And Tim Hines wanted to add something also to his remarks. Tim?
Yes, thank you. So a couple of things just to keep in mind. You know, as an educator, I personally don't have kids, but I miss my kids. I miss being in the classroom. I think every teacher does. Again, we want to make sure it's safe for everybody. I know the comment was made about COVID money coming to the state. Remember that not every school in the state gets those funds, because again, we're federally funded where I teach. The other comment that was made from the retired educator, thank you so much for your service, by the way, ma'am, is it's not just about substitute teaching, because I know in some schools they do allow teachers to cover other classrooms, etc., just for subbing as extra pay. But we should be following the CDC guidelines in terms of social distancing. If I'm in a rural community, what does that look like when I'm driving a bus? Does that mean we're going to have to spend extra money on gasoline? Does that mean that we have to pay the bus drivers more? What are the cleaning procedures for those buses? Because they're being used twice a day. So are we going to have multiple bus runs? Some of those buses, just in my district alone, are an hour bus ride for our students. Yep. So, and also I'm in a rural district and it's also on a reservation. The high access to internet is not available. I mean, and that's just one reservation within the state. So times that by at least 5 other reservations. I mean, we need access to high-speed internet for our students to be successful. I know teachers that are already stepping up, making sure that their students have, you know, paper and whatnot that they can do their math that they're going to have this year. And also regarding online learning, we really have to increase the funding provided to special education, because again, those students are going to need that. Not everybody's going to be able to learn online. Some people will need that one-on-one interaction. What does that look like? Is that going to be in a parking lot where the teacher has a board and they get to write on their marker, like within the 6 feet social distancing? A lot of these stuff have not been addressed by our leaders in the state, and in order to be compliant with our century code, we need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So those are just some additional thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you for those additional thoughts, Tim. I think sometimes people don't understand what it's like to live in a rural means rural, you know, and we're actually a frontier state, not more than a rural. Okay, if anyone else wants to add comments or to please let us know by in the chat or raise your hand under the participants. And Bernadette, did you want to say something? Oh, wait, Bernadette, you're on mute. Hold on a second. There we are.
Okay, there. So I want to add something, something that was said to me by my mother on this. She's 80 years old, and she said, we can always recover on our education, but we can't recover our life.
Yep.
So, and that's true, because this is all new to every one of us. We do our best, social distancing, watch our kids and take them out, you know, to the park and do things like that. But I don't think they're thinking of things like that. You know, we can't recover a child's life if their symptoms are serious, you know?
Yeah.
And studies are saying that some may have long-term effects, you know? And so I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for Bernadette for that. You know, we are still discovering what the virus does to all our body parts. And that's coming out more and more. So I think everybody heard and just brought so much to the table. And I wanted to thank everyone who signed up to speak in advance. And I'd like to open the floor for questions, which we did already, but we're running short on time now. So please just put it in the your email or chat, and we will get back to you on that and record it in our report that we're going to be giving to the governor and our legislatures. So it brings us to the end of tonight's listening session. But this is a part of a larger effort to ensure that our government works for all of us. Education is a cornerstone of our communities and of our government's responsibilities. To do that, we need decisive leadership that will unite all North Dakotans and listen to the needs of all communities. As governor, I will be decisive, collaborative, and transparent. We have received several emails already with people's thoughts on reopening schools and look forward to sharing all of your feedback with our elected officials and other community members. We will do that in written form. Don't forget, you can call your legislator too. They can demand to keep our governor accountable. Please call your legislator as well. You might want to consider it even after we send our written report, so you have some ideas to formulate. Together, I believe that we can get through this challenging times to help our community thrive. I hope I can count on your support to help bring a practical and responsive voice to the governor's office. Please visit www.lens-vig4nd.com to make a contribution, learn more about me and my Lieutenant Governor, Ben Vig, or to get involved. Start your own listening session. If you'd like to host your own listening session in your community or virtually, I would love to continue that discussion, and we can drill down even deeper into each community. This was a statewide call. Please contact info@lens-vig4nd.com to make those arrangements. Once again, thank you for attending, for speaking, for listening, for caring, for working so hard, and for sharing my pride in our great state. So let's keep the conversations going. You guys have a good night.